Namaste, this is Sapna. Welcome to my home and welcome to my kitchen. Today we will be talking about a very special vegetable. This vegetable may not be your average vegetable that you would pick in the grocery store and bring it to your kitchen, but it's definitely a staple in my household. This vegetable is called bitter melon. In India, we actually call it more like bitter gourd because it is from the gourd family or the squash family. The Hindi word for bitter melon is Karela. You will find bitter melon in any Indian grocery stores. You will also find bitter melon in Asian grocery stores, but the outer skin of the bitter melon will be much lighter and it will be much smoother. In India, this is how bitter melon looks like. So it is more rough and much more darker. In Ayurveda, bitter melon is extremely medicinal. It is so healing for our bodies. Bitter melon actually detoxifies and cleanses our liver. My teacher, Dr. Lord, always says, bitter is better for the liver. And bitter melon definitely keeps up that name. Bitter melon also has hypoglycemic effect. A lot of people in India just grind bitter melon raw and have maybe a spoonful or so in the morning as a medicine, and it creates a hypoglycemic effect, especially for type 2 diabetes. But if you're doing bitter melon for medicinal properties or for therapeutic dosage, you need to first talk to your doctor or an Ayurvedic practitioner because it does have medicinal properties. The reason I'm doing this video is to actually make you curious about bitter melon and cook yummy bitter melon vegetable. It is definitely bitter, but you can change the bitter melon into extremely yummy, easy stir-fry recipe, and that's why we are doing this video. So let me show you what all is needed to make this recipe. Now before I actually start slicing up some of these bitter melon, I want to take a minute and help you so that you will be a master in picking out the best bitter melon pieces when you're going grocery shopping. When you're going to go to the grocery store and find bitter melon, you want to find bitter melon that look really tender and really slender and not with a fat belly. To give you an example, if you find a bitter melon that has a fat or a plump center, most likely when you slice it open, it's going to have red or pinkish seeds. Those seeds are that kind of gives you an indication that this bitter melon has become a little overripe. That's fine. You can still use the bitter melon. You would just scoop out the seeds out and you can slice the bitter melon. But I don't like to scoop out the seeds of my bitter melon. I like to use the flesh and the seeds inside. So I always spend a couple of minutes extra in the grocery store and really dig for the best pieces of bitter melon. The first step is to wash up the bitter melon and then slice it. So let me show you how that's done. So what I have in front of me are about 8 bitter melon, and you can see the center of each of the bitter melon are slightly different. Some are really tender, some have a little mature brownish color seeds, and some are really ripe pinkish reddish color seeds. So the ones that are really ripe, I'm going to take a spoon and scoop it out and toss it in my garbage bowl right here. And I'm going to use all the rest in my recipe. For example, in this bitter melon, the top is really tender, just the bottom has really brown seeds. I'm going to scoop some off. It's okay for some of the brown seeds to be in the dish, that's fine. It adds actually a little crunch to it. The next step is going to be thinly slicing these bitter melon. So you can see that I sliced the bitter melon. Next step I'm going to do is put some salt over these bitter melon slices and toss it. After about 15 minutes or so, you will notice that there's water getting released from the bitter melon, and that is the bitter juices from the vegetable. A lot of the people actually toss the water out, and you can certainly do that, and it will definitely mellow down the bitterness to some degree. It will still be bitter, but I actually like the water. And I retain that in my recipe because I don't want to lose any of the nutrients. I just toss it in my stir fry. The other benefits for salting the bitter melon also is it makes it a little tender. So it speeds up the cooking of this dish. So I'm going to set this bitter melon aside for about 15 minutes or so. And while that happens, let me show you the other ingredients that we would need for this recipe. For the bitter melon stir fry, you would need about a tablespoon of minced ginger, so fresh ginger root peeled and minced. You would need about 3 cloves of garlic peeled and minced. You would need jaggery powder. If you don't have jaggery powder, you can substitute brown sugar. Jaggery powder is easily found in Indian grocery stores. That adds a little sweetness to the recipe. You would need tamarind concentrate. You can use fresh tamarind pulp. I just make it easy. You can get tamarind concentrate again from an Indian grocery store. This adds the sour quality to the bitter melon stir fry. You would need some fresh shredded coconut. I get mine again from the Indian grocery store. It's found frozen in the frozen section. So about 2 tablespoons of fresh shredded coconut. This is just for the garnish at the end. Let's talk about the spices that we would use in this recipe. We're going to be using turmeric powder. I use turmeric almost every single day in every single dish that I'm making. I'm going to be using whole cumin seeds. I'm going to be using roasted cumin seed powder. I'm going to be using red chili powder for a little heat, and that's totally up to your preference. This is dry mango powder. It also adds a wonderful tartness to the recipe. Coriander seed powder. The last spice in my spice box is mustard seeds, and I'm going to skip this spice for the bitter melon stir fry. You also need a pinch of asafoetida or hing. Hing is a spice that is used in Indian cooking, and it helps with digestion of food by reducing the gas in our gut. But please remember, all you need is a pinch. So let's get started. To start off, I'm going to put about a tablespoon of vegetable oil in the pan and allow the pan to get nice and warm, because when you add spices and hot oil, that's one of the critical things to remember, because hot oil infused releases all the volatile compounds of the spices. Once the oil is nice and hot, I always start off by putting just a pinch of asafoetida, and you can see the sizzling sound. So the oil is perfectly warm. I'm going to add whole cumin seeds, about 1/4 teaspoon. I'm gonna then toss my minced garlic and ginger. That was ginger. This is garlic. Oh, I wish you could be in my kitchen and smell this. The next step is to add the bitter melon, and that was salted, and you can see that it's already releasing a lot of water and it's nice and wet. After about 5 minutes, the next step is to take your tamarind concentrate, and I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to put about 1/2 teaspoon or so of the tamarind concentrate. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of jaggery powder, and I'm going to add the other dry spices to this dish. I'm going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of red chili powder. I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of roasted cumin seed powder, 1/2 teaspoon or a little bit more of dry mango powder. You can see I kind of eyeball my spices, and I encourage you to do the same. And then about 1/2 teaspoon or so of coriander seed powder. Cooking is an art, and it should come with love. So just go with your heart and use your spices. When in doubt, always use less than more. So go less and you can always add more. And I'm just going to take maybe a tablespoon or so of water, or maybe 2 tablespoons of water. Give this mixture, this stir fry, again a good toss. Okay, let's check on our bitter melon. I let it steam for another 5 minutes or so, and looks like our bitter melon is nice and tender, and it's beautiful, crispy on the bottom. The way we finish it off is by just adding some fresh desiccated coconut, giving it a quick stir. And our bitter melon stir fry is ready to be served. Let me show you a fun way to enjoy bitter melon stir fry. Bitter melon stir fry is all ready to be enjoyed. Traditionally in India, bitter melon is enjoyed as a side dish, and it's served with rotis or chapatis. Those are Indian flat tortillas. Here in America, I serve this as just a side dish. I've actually used this stir fry as a topping over warm salad. But today I want to show you a fun way as to how we enjoy this bitter melon stir fry, and my kids love it too. So let me show you how. We enjoy bitter melon stir fry, and we make bitter melon stir fry tacos, and I can sell tacos to my kids and they love it. So all I have for my tacos is these are store-bought corn tortillas, bitter melon stir fry, and I just make a fun little salsa. This is mango salsa, so it has fresh mangoes, some red onions, cilantros, roasted cumin seed powder, and lime juice. You can very easily get a store-bought salsa or any other topping that you want to mellow down the bitterness of the stir fry. So I turn my cooktop, my flame on, and I just place my corn tortilla on it and kind of dry roast it and puff it up a little bit. It just takes maybe about 10 seconds or so. I love using corn tortillas for these tacos. The corn and bitter melon goes very well together. I guess I have a feeling that the corn actually makes the bitter melon also taste a little less bitter. So I dry roasted this on open flame, my corn tortillas. I have my homemade ghee. We all love our ghee. And I'll just do a little smear on the tortillas so that it takes away the excess dryness from the tortillas. Just a little smear of ghee. I'm gonna place a spoonful of my stir fry in the middle. And then I have this wonderful, juicy, fruity, sweet, and little pungent salsa. And my tacos are ready to be enjoyed. My kids love it, my husband loves it. This is such a crowd pleaser. I have made these tacos and I've not told people that it's bitter melon stir fry, and let them just enjoy what these are. And there are no complaints about bitter melon in my house. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope this made you curious enough to go find some bitter melon and go make an easy bitter melon stir fry. If you tried this recipe, definitely share with me how you enjoyed it. Leave me your comments and feedback, and check out my other videos. And definitely stay connected with me, and I will see you soon. Namaste.